Okay, my friends, today we're going to cover this guy, James Hollywood Henderson, who had aspirations to be a pro football player, which he probably could have been just based on his size and strength. And he did have some athleticism as a kid. Unfortunately, he ended up going to jail, which we'll talk about, but he wasn't there too long before he actually found Jesus and, got converted and changed his life around and went on to be one of the best power lifters and bench pressers in particular in history. There he is with Marty Gallagher, and that is, I believe, the president of the USPF or perhaps the IPF here. We will have something from Marty about, here he is. This is from Marty. Here I am flanked by bench press iconic immortal James Hollywood Henderson and the USPF president Peter Thorne. Hollywood is about 6'5" and weighs around 370. He did end up eventually going over 400 and dwarfs Marty's 5'10", 235 body. He bench pressed 700 pounds raw and just missed 730 later. And, here it is. He's on the cover of Powerlifting USA here with 705 in a t-shirt, and this was in the early 90s. So again, the first Raw 700. Now that has been surpassed, and we talked about the gentleman who's been on the run doing that lately. So he would take a second attempt. He did, I think, like 630 or 50. Then he did 680. Then he 700 plus on his third and final. He captured 5 straight IPF World Bench Press Championships and pressed over 700 or over like 10 times in competitions. So then we're going to go into this Powerlifting USA article, which is indeed his routine for the bench press. Now, apparently, this was a 2 or 3 part series where they were talking about his other power lifts as well, but obviously this one focuses on his bench press. Here he is at the USPF Nationals in '86 in Philly with 310 kigs, and he makes that lift. So much like the J.M. Blakely routine that we covered a couple videos ago, this routine focuses almost entirely on the bench press. Well, it is entirely in James's case, with the exception in JM did do 1 or 2 tricep assistance exercises along with his benches. It's a demanding routine, and it's 3 days a week, so it would be basically, or typically, I should say, like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But you're only really training heavy on that middle day. The other 2 days are a little more volume and a little lower intensity or lower weight. Same thing, kind of. So each phase lasts 4 weeks. Like many routines you'll find in Powerlifting USA, it's based around percentage of max. And in this case, it starts out very light. The projected end result is just a 10-pound gain in your max, which reflects James' drug-free status and it being a relatively short program. In phase 1, only 58 to 64% of your max is used, whereas in phase 2, you go from 60 to 95, saving your new projected max for meet day. There he is with his bad shirt on, and he is just a big, massive dude. Pretty good guy, too. He works with kids. He works with the Federation of Christian Athletes. And, he tries to help kids change their ways that are on the track that he kind of found himself on as a young man. So after the third workout in a given week, you take 2 days rest. So it'd be, like I said, typically Monday, Wednesday, Friday working out. You take the weekend off. You start over on Monday. Weeks 1 through 4, we start at 58. And each week there's a 2% increase until you get up to 64. And you're using 6 to 8 sets of 6 at that given percentage. Here he is, and seems to always be happy. Here he is with a big smile on his face, getting ready to bench. And somebody's spotting him there. I'm not sure where that is, but he and one thing about his workout will go on. He mentions taking a page from Louis Simmons' book in terms of using multiple grips. I believe also there's been several guys that did that. I think Mike Bridges did that. I think Mike McDonald also did that. And then, so the 6 to 8 thing, you're favoring the weakest of the three grips by giving it an extra set or two. That's why you have the option of going from 6 sets to 8 sets. So week one, we stay at 58% for a 6 to 8, and again, it goes up each week, um, and you stay at there's three workouts at that particular percentage, and it's doing the 6 to 8 sets. There he is again, and coming off another big bench. So in phase two, the first and third sessions consist of 5 sets of 4 at 60%. Uh, that remains steady for the 4 full weeks. However, the percentage goes up for your heavy day, again, which is typically Wednesday, and you only hit 1 or 2 sets of singles. And he talks about that shirts, at the point of this article, had already become legal to use. So he said, if you want to use a shirt, then you adjust accordingly a little bit. And we'll talk about that. But there he is, and says he's the king of the bench press, getting ready for another big attempt at the Nationals in Philly, which is that same 86 USPF Nationals we showed earlier. So he is a 5-time world champion powerlifter. Guinness World Record holder, and just a humongous dude. So, and I always like to throw in a routine when I cover these guys. It may be beyond a lot of us to do this routine, but it is what it is. So he does have a Facebook page, and like it says here, he's evangelist, motivational speaker, personal trainer, and life coach. Studied theology and psychology, also criminal law. So he's not a dumb guy. And this is, I think, from Wiki. Um, Specialized in the bench press, of course, and competed in IPF. 5-time super heavyweight world champion. He was first man to bench over 700 raw, like we said. Several world records through his career, including the all-time world record raw bench of 711. He won 5 consecutive world titles, and they're listed there. Here he is doing his thing in front of a bunch of people. I think this is the Men of Valor convention, and it was just a bunch of guys that had been athletes and in other well known positions, and were trying to reach out to young people to change their lives for the better through a relationship with Christ, of course. Um, Here is the link to that video if you care to watch it. Now, I also covered Dennis Tinerino and then Franco Santoriello. What these guys have in common is they all found the Lord while incarcerated, and all went on to have ministries. Obviously, their lives had been changed. There's Franco. Had a very unusual situation in that he was taking drugs, heroin in particular, while he was a world class bodybuilder, which is just mind boggling that he was able to achieve that. So here is his particular, you can see he's in a prison cell there, and he's praying. This is from a CBN video that I borrowed some stuff from to make that video, which you can go back and see. I put that link. Again, all had jailhouse conversions, and all went on to start ministries afterwards. And Tinerino has passed. I believe Franco is still around, and Henderson is certainly still around. As I said, he has an active Facebook page that you can check out. So that's about it for Mr. Henderson. I thank you for watching. Thank you for hitting the likes if indeed you do like the video. Thanks for subscribing if you haven't already. And I'm out.